If you're at all looking at the direction of your screen right now, you can clearly see I'm about to break down Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria's interview that took place earlier today at ESPN MMA. And the reason it took place at ESPN MMA is the reason why it's so blurry right now. So don't blame me. Anyway, I'm going to be analyzing the body language that both the fighters use and the key moments in what they've said. I've got timestamps. I've got everything I need. We'll go straight into it. We'll start with 52 seconds on the clock.
It's over there somehow.
He bought it. He's a fan. He's been a fan for many years, and
yeah. To be honest, I've been a fan from many years. To be honest, yeah, I've been a fan. I followed your entire career since.
So basically, what happens here is the interviewer asks Max what he thinks about the fact that Ilia Topuria has bought himself a BMF title for $600. Max Holloway immediately goes after Ilia Topuria here. He said that he's a fan. You know, just the normal stuff that fighters say to each other. Like Kamaru Usman back in the day said to Ben Askren, he was like, well, since you're a fan of all of us, maybe we can sign you something. And something along those lines. It's a pretty cheap shot to take. Not a cheap shot, but it's low-hanging fruit. It's like something you would say to anyone who's a newcomer at any sort of job that requires any level of fame. You know what I mean? So basically, Max Holloway says, yeah, Ilia Topuria, you're a fan. Max instigates the trash-talking portion of the interview. Ilia Topuria, on the other hand, not for some reason, I think he's been quite smart about this. He says, yeah, I am a fan. I am a fan of you, Max. I've been a fan of you for a long time. I've been watching you. I like the way you fight. He doesn't say that he likes the way he fights, but he implies it in the words that he's using. And basically, yeah, that's just the gist of how that exchange went. Ilia Topuria, Mr. Nice Guy, Max Holloway, the heel in this situation. Craziness. Anyway, they build on this in just a couple of seconds, right around here. And let's get into it immediately. They continue on with the fan talk.
Maybe you will become my fan. Maybe you will start learning from me.
Max, I do want to ask.
I don't know if
maybe you will become my fan. Maybe you will start learning from me.
Max, I do want to ask.
I don't care what he has to ask. Anyway, Ilia Topuria in this situation, it's basically asked something about what would happen in the fight. Ilia Topuria is like, well, after the fight, maybe you'll become a fan of mine. Maybe you'll learn a thing or two from me. And then Max just says, we'll see. For some reason, Max looks like he has nothing going on behind his eyes here. Like he looks stoned out of his mind. Glassy-eyed, CTE-induced, whatever you want to say. I like the approach Ilia Topuria is going with. He's just being straightforward, upfront. Nice guy, honestly, considering that he's usually a heel. I say usually, he hasn't been a heel that often, but he's a little bit of a cunt, you know what I mean? Against Volkanovski, even against Volkanovski, he wasn't even that savage, to be honest. All he said to Volkanovski was that he's an old person and then he's gonna put him out. Against Paddy Pimblett, though, there was some beef and whatnot. Just from the vibe of these two, you would imagine Ilia Topuria being the heel, though, and Max Holloway being the happy-go-lucky guy, like he is in most of his fights against Arnold Allen, Korean Zombie. Even in the past, like when he was fighting for the belt against Jose Aldo, he had nothing but nice things to say about Jose Aldo. Here, though, completely different story. Completely different story. We'll move on to some more trash talk to do with the belt that Ilia Topuria has. Just give me a second here. We're going to go to 5 minutes and 53 seconds. As you can see, Ilia Topuria has already put the BMF belt around his shoulders, and Max is probably a little bit... Look at him. He's just pondering, what to say.
he bought it. For what, $600, $700, brother? That was a waste of money.
Ilia.
Before I play what Ilia responds with, I just want to say, Max is right that he did buy the belt. And in situations like this, it's really, really hard to come out as the cool guy in this situation. Like, if you're the guy with the fake belt, it's highly unlikely the fans will like it, or you'll leave that situation with as much integrity and street cred as you had when you came into that interview. But Ilia just pulls off this, like, wizardry of charisma, and I'll show you in a second, but just look at his face. He's just smirking. He's like, and it's not that fake Colby Covington smirk either. Like, you know, when he's just like, yeah, I am the GOAT. You know what I mean? Like, just delusional stuff. Ilia Topuria, on the other hand, seems to have confidence in what he's saying. And this is what he says. Max Holloway, on the other hand, still looking dead behind the eyes.
Why did you purchase a BMF belt?
Because I want it.
Just as simple as that. Oh, well, just because I want it. He just wanted the belt, so he got it. And that's probably the best response he could have given in this situation. And it actually didn't even come across as cringe. It actually, like, he just said he wanted the belt, so he bought it for himself. Nothing cringe about that. I mean, maybe it is to some people, but I feel like considering how these things usually go with the fake belts, with even Chael Sonnen, who's quite charismatic himself, even he ended up looking stupid on stage with the massive monologues and then they talked about how it's like a $99.99 belt or whatever, and that like rubbed him in like a negative light in some ways, like not a negative light, but like it decreased from his cool bravado that he had going.
Sound like a spoiled child.
Max Holloway just jabbing in one more time. I'm not sure why Max has gone down this trash talking approach. The last time he did it, it didn't really end quite well for him. When he did against Alexander Volkanovski. Yeah, that was the last time I remember him being just trying to force some jabs in there in the press conference with Volkanovski. And that ended up with him having a bad weight cut. And maybe that's why he didn't look nearly on par with Volkanovski. Could something like that be happening here? I'm not sure. Max doesn't look like he's in the best spirits or in the best mood. Could there be an injury? Maybe there's something he knows that we don't in terms of like the camp that he's having. Maybe one of the partners is on vacation, like one of his like training partners. They went away to Hawaii's rival, which would be New Zealand. I don't know. Something like that. I'm sure there's something going on because Max isn't usually like this, and fair on him for trying to sell a fight though, for what it's worth. Next up, 621.
To answer that, everybody saw the video already.
Sorry, some explanation first. The interviewer asks Max Holloway he asked Ilia what he thought of Max's last performance for the BMF belt against Justin Gaethje at UFC 300.
Against Justin Gaethje in April.
Yeah, you don't have to answer that. Everybody saw the video already. We saw the video. Run the clip. Run the clip from the interview. You know, everybody know how he felt about the fight.
So Max Holloway, again, jabs right in. Not a question directed towards him. He doesn't usually do this, but he just goes, we know what he thought. Just look at his face. Or like pull the clip of Ilia's reaction because he was in the front row of that fight. And yeah, Ilia Topuria, you could tell in that moment was taken off guard by the spectacularness of the finish. But at the same time was trying to hold a poker face to not look too impressed with Max Holloway's work, you know? Still trying to play that heel character, like, oh, is that it? You know what I mean? Like that attitude. And Max is going after him for it. And this is Ilia Topuria's response. I'll find it right here. 6:45 of the video I'm on right now.
Any f***ing thing, I just saw a bar fight, to be honest. It was very spectacular for the fans, but for me as a professional, it was I don't know.
Wouldn't it be crazy if you could create voiceovers that sound like a
raspy old man?
A young teenage girl.
Not something very impressive, to be honest, because you can impress everyone.
Now, I don't quite believe Ilia Topuria that he wasn't that impressed with Max Holloway's performance, because Max Holloway did have an amazing performance. He shut down Justin Gaethje, moved up a weight division, and won the BMF title. And could have arguably secured himself a title shot of the lightweight division. But if there's anyone who can give accurate critique of someone's boxing or striking or technique, it's Ilia Topuria, let's be honest here. Ilia Topuria has some of the best hands in the division that he's a part of, and he knocked out the same person that beat Max Holloway 3 times in a row. Sure, he didn't finish Max Holloway, but still, he outstruck him for the most part, and then Ilia Topuria finished him off. So, Ilia Topuria does have some say in the matter. I'm not going to say that he's being fully truthful. On the other hand, though, I do think he was impressed. I mean, you saw his face. You saw what it was like. Anyway, continuing on, Max Holloway then replies,
your face says otherwise, so it is what it is, brother.
I challenge you to have that exchange, but in the first 10 seconds of the fight, and you will see what's going to happen.
I like the confidence that Ilia Topuria is bringing to the table. Like, even Max Holloway right now is scratching the side of his head. There's not too much to dig into. Maybe his side of his head is just itchy right now. But Ilia Topuria, on the other hand, I like the confidence. Like, it's quite easy in these kind of situations to end up leaving the scenario as, like, the clown. Like, you talk all this shit, say to Max, oh, do this in the fight. And then if he gets knocked out, he'll be on a clip, like, a compilation where it's, like, trash talking gone wrong MMA edition. And it's just Ilia Topuria in this exact paused screen moment, talking the way he is, has the BMF belt around his shoulder, getting finished in the fight or losing embarrassingly. But I like that he's risking it. It shows that he has confidence. It shows that he does believe that he can beat Max Holloway. Not to say that anyone else doesn't believe they can beat Max Holloway. But this no turning back confidence, I do think leads to superstars. Look at Conor McGregor, the Mystic Mac predictions. That's why he got so famous. He was telling his opponents what round is going to finish them, and then he was finishing them those rounds. We haven't really seen that, like, since. Like, no one's really coming out there doing this big trash talk and then putting on these spectacular finishes. Like Anderson Silva, he didn't talk any trash, but he was spectacular, so he was obviously a big star. GSP was dominant and won a lot. He was a big star, but again, no trash talking, no, like, amazing finishing power, or... He had power, but not... He wasn't getting finishes. That wasn't his game plan. That wasn't the style he was using. Conor McGregor got huge, and Ronda Rousey got huge, because both of them were, like, telling their opponents they wouldn't be able to last more than 3 minutes with them, and they weren't. And then they both became huge stars. Ilia Topuria against Volkanovski, the current featherweight champion. Consensus, easy, at worst, top 3 featherweights of all time. He told him he was going to put him out. He was an old man. And then he did exactly that. He didn't come out of that situation embarrassingly. I don't think he should stop doing that here. Be confident in yourself, Ilia. I think you're going to win. And if this pulls off for you, and you beat Max Holloway, who has all this star power after not knocking out Justin Gaethje, we're off to the races. We could be seeing a star bigger than Sean O'Malley and Israel Adesanya. Because one thing with Sean O'Malley and Israel Adesanya is they're both extremely cringe, and you can tell in these press conference scenarios they're actually not as confident of themselves as they'd have you believe they are. They're not as confident as the highlights have you believe they are. Like, you're seeing this spectacular Israel Adesanya enters the Matrix, these documentary series like Israel Adesanya Enter the Matrix, Sean O'Malley, The Sugar Show, and they're styling on their opponents, but you're not seeing like that translate to these interviews and these conferences where they're talking to someone and then, you know what I mean? Like, they're not talking to their opponent with this conviction and this gravitas of like you don't believe Sean O'Malley everything that he says. You know what I mean? Like, when he says he's going to shut the lights off Petr Yan, shut the lights off Chito Vera, and then he doesn't do it, and with Petr Yan he arguably loses. It's not the same. You know? Sean O'Malley enters that Aljamain Sterling fight as the clear underdog, like 3-1 underdog. Ilia Topuria enters his fight with Volkanovski is almost a pick'em fighter. Just different levels of some of this confidence stuff. Anyway. 7:40. So next timestamp we'll be stopping at.
2 weeks. We got 2 more weeks.
I get tired knocking people out. Submit people.
Calm down.
I get
Calm
tired.
down. Calm down.
Calm down. No, calm down.
guys.
You calm down. You calm down. You calm down.
So, I know I'm not showing you too much, I'm just showing you, but this is like the body language I'm talking about between these two fighters. Ilia Topuria has been quite... He stumbles over this... You know, when you get like 3-4 words in a row that all have the same starting point? For example, sea salt. I can't even... Shell. Doesn't sound enough, but like... Forget about what I was saying, but you know how you stumble over your words sometimes, and then Max Holloway all of a sudden is using that opportunity to just say, calm down, calm down, calm down. First of all, Ilia Topuria was not being that aggressive. He wasn't. And he just stumbled over a few words. Like, I mean, he wasn't being too aggressive. Like, he stumbled over one word, really. Like, and he was just talking passionately. He wasn't even aggressive. It's like when you have a friend and you're both in like a disagreement or like an argument, you know what I mean? And you're talking to them. And then after a while, like, you get a little bit too passionate, or maybe you raise your voice to get a point across because they're not listening to the same thing you're saying over and over again. And then they just reply with, calm down, calm down, calm down, basically making everyone think that you're like this crazy person. Like, everything you're saying is, you know, like, you're just being so aggressive. Like, they're just saying, calm down, we're having a civil conversation, even though in the first place you were never really getting that aggressive. That's kind of what Max Holloway did in this scenario. With Ilia Topuria, it doesn't really feel like a scenario where you needed to say calm down to anybody. And then Topuria says it back to Max because I guess he's annoyed. Max is just finding small details to put a jab in, which I don't think really needed. I don't know why Max is going out of his way to try and like heat this feud up. I think this fight's amazing, like whether like it has trash talking or not. Not sure why Max has gone down this route. There must be something wrong with him in the training camp because the last time he did this was against Volkanovski, and as I said, did not look the best. Oh, this is very interesting. I like the confidence of Ilia Topuria here. He showcases some more of that at, let's just say 10:25.
What he couldn't do in 75 minutes, I did in 7. He has 7 professional defeats, I had 0. He's the challenger, I'm the champion. That's why I know that I'm gonna knock him out.
So basically, Ilia Topuria was asked why he thinks he'll win the fight against Max Holloway, and he just says, you know, the stuff that he says. He's undefeated, Max isn't. He beat Volkanovski in 7 minutes, Max couldn't do it in 75. All true statements, and I like the fact that he's promoting himself in that way, because if someone who's a casual watches this interview for the first time, they'll think to themselves, okay, so I don't really know too much about the UFC. Max Holloway just became a big star, so obviously I'm going to rush in and watch this fight that Max Holloway has upcoming, and also Khamzat Chimaev. So this is a big card. They're going to tune in. They see this interview. Ilia Topuria is just spitting facts right now. Now, these kind of stats won't tell you who's going to win a fight, but it is interesting for casual to see that Ilia Topuria did something that Max couldn't do in 75 minutes, which is true, factually true. Ilia Topuria being undefeated, it adds to his aura. Like, we have never seen Ilia Topuria lose ever before. So if he does manage to lose, it's like a big moment, like his O's gone. Max Holloway could be that dude to do it, or maybe he isn't. A lot of intriguing stuff here. And then this is Max's response, which happens right about now.
Max, what do you think?
I mean, that's great reason to me. I'm not gonna fight with him. I'm not gonna argue with him. He has a great reason. He can believe what he believes. October 26th.
October 26th, we'll find out who the best man is, and the best is still blessed, is basically what Max Holloway says in this scenario. But now, considering he had called Ilia Topuria childish earlier, I think Max Holloway's being a little bit childish here. You know, I get it. I said it before, just a few minutes, like a minute ago. These kind of stats don't tell you who's going to win a fight. But Max just being like, oh, okay, like, this has no merit to it. Like, he did beat the guy you couldn't beat in 75 minutes. Let's be serious here. Now, obviously, the losses thing doesn't matter. Max Holloway fought far higher competition from a young age. To now, Ilia Topuria has just gone in the UFC. He's 28, I think, maybe. I think he's 28 years old. He's a young kid himself, but again, Max Holloway's fighting like the best of the best at the age of 23. So it's not quite the same thing. But yeah, weird energy for Max Holloway. Like, almost like a grumpy grandpa energy. And maybe I'm just saying that because his face looks much older now than it did like a year ago. Or even like 6 months ago. Max has aged for some reason. Like, the aging process has just caught up to him. The wrinkles are showing. The pedostache is out. Weird. Not sure why Max has gone down this road. I think there might be something wrong in the training camp. Because he ain't, you know. And then this childish moment. Speaking of Max Holloway being childish, this was weird.
When you're 85 years
So you
old
know
on your
how
deathbed,
in,
you're not going to wish you had fewer crazy
like
stories.
interviews
So
or
let me
fights,
introduce you to
when
the
fighters are
That's what I'm
posing
gonna-
with each other, they'll usually hold up one of these poses, or when a fan asks like someone like Colby Covington or something like that, it's like, so what are you gonna do against Thing? And while they're waiting for them to finish their question, they're just looking at the camera and just doing the shadow boxing motion, you know, like the thing that every fighter does in like the graphic before a fight, where they're just going, or they're going, you know what I mean? Ilia Topuria does that. Max Holloway decides to chime in for some weird reason and use this bizarre, trash-talking, like childish playground verbiage.
Why are you shadow walker? You're ready to rest.
I want to scare you a little bit.
Of what? You can scare.
Tranquilo, chico, tranquilo. Solo muéstrate.
So Max Holloway just says, you know, why you go to sleep, why are you shadow boxing, training's over. Ilia Topuria gives a straight answer, no faking it, nothing like, like some fighters will get asked a question and they'll make it real cringe. They'll be like, okay, I thought of this line before the interview, this is the time to use it. I've got nothing else to say. Bleh. Ilia Topuria just says why he did it. He wanted to scare Max Holloway. He shadowboxed for a second. And then he just smiles and says a few, like, you know, like those bully, like, you know, like you have a bully at school and they're like, instead of like beating the shit out of you, they just like snidingly remark like things to their friends. It didn't happen to me, obviously, but I've seen it happen, obviously. Yeah, and that's what happened here. Like, he just straight faced said why he was shadowboxing. Max Holloway has nothing to say back. He looks dead behind the eyes. He's like, fuck me dead here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nothing to say back. Like, Max can't reply to that. Like, and then Max does. He's like, scared of what? And then he's like, scared of what? Scared of what? Ilia Topuria just being a cunt in this situation. And then he says something in Spanish. I think finishing off a sentence in English with something in a foreign language is the ultimate aura. You just gain so much aura just being like, I'll fuck you up. And then you just say, Chico, tranquilo. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Even though it doesn't sound the most badass, when someone who actually does speak the language says it, just sounds a lot better in my opinion. More cringe from... No, it's not cringe though. It's not really cringe, but it is quite telling into the psychology of Max Holloway. Like, has he been broken by Ilia Topuria? I wouldn't have thought so. He hasn't done that much trash talking. But let's look at this bit.
For
Look
nobody
at my
else.
eyes. Look at my eyes. I'm a liar.
Look at your eyes right here, brother.
Yeah.
What? What's up?
You are the one.
So basically, they're talking about who didn't want to fight who and who wasn't signing the contract. And then Ilia Topuria is like, I'm telling the truth. Look in my eyes. Look in my eyes. Max Holloway just goes all the way up to his camera and he just goes, look in my eyes, bro. Let's see. Never seen Max Holloway do this ever before. Get this like animated, like willing to show his eyes on camera. And he still looks dead behind the eyes, by the way. And this is like, Max Holloway doing this is basically equivalent of like, you know when you, let's say you beep your horn in traffic. I'm using a lot of analogies here, like real world ways for you to digest this information I'm throwing your way. You know when you're in like traffic, you beep your horn and you're like, get out of the way, buddy. And then this like middle-aged, sidely fat dude comes out, taps on your window and says, lower the window, and just leans in through the window. That's basically what Max did here. Look at my eyes. Now what? Now what? You know what I mean? Just make it... I'm not... Just do not my... It's not Max Holloway. It's not the Max Holloway we know. He's acting a bit weird, and I do think there's something happening in his training camp, and I do think Ilia Topuria is going to finish him. And it's not just because of this hypothetical, but there's a lot of other reasons. Just because of fighting style as well, which I'll break down later on, probably next week. And then Max Holloway lies. Like, listen. Fighters will say this all the time. But Max Holloway is not one of these fighters. So basically, we'll listen to it first and then we'll discuss.
You are the first guy I asked for. I want Ilia Topuria. I want the easiest fight.
Yeah,
I want Ilia Topuria. That's what I said.
Yeah. The easiest fight. Whoa.
Even Ilia Topuria is like, okay, easiest fight. Whoa. Like, you're not going to ask for Bryce Mitchell. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, he doesn't... Obviously, Max Holloway doesn't think Ilia Topuria is literally the easiest fight in the division, but it is weird that Max Holloway has gone down the route of, I want the easiest fight in the division, I want Ilia Topuria. I don't know why he's done this, because any time he has any opponent, he's like, I want a Legends fight with Korean Zombie, we've never fought each other, I respect him so much. Arnold Allen, even after he beat out Arnold Allen, he was like, he's a killer, I'm expecting to fight him again later on in the future. I doubt this is a one and done. Some other fighters, Jose Aldo is the greatest of all time. It's not me, it's Jose Aldo. It's not Volkanovski, it's Jose Aldo. Like, just all this praise he gave to Jose Aldo, to all of these fighters. Even just in Gaethje, there was no trash talk. It was just about being the BMF. They wanted Mark Coleman in the cage to give the belt to the winner. But here, he's like, I want the easy. I just feel like Max Holloway heard some trash talk because he's good friends with Daniel Cormier. And if any of you have seen the interview with Daniel Cormier and Ryan Bader, where basically Daniel Cormier has retained his belt, has given an interview. Ryan Bader barges into the press conference and just starts talking shit to Cormier. And Cormier said, I wanted the easier, I told the UFC I want the easiest fight in the division, I want Ryan Bader. And it's even in the tone that Max said it. I want the easiest fight, I want Ilia Topuria. It feels like he's just copying and pasting and just knowing or hearing things that other people say to trash talk and just try to emulate it for some reason. I think the normal Max Holloway doesn't give a shit about this. I think there's something happening here. I don't know why he hates Ilia Topuria so much. I mean, I get promoting a fight, but it's just so... Like, Max Holloway is like if the world was black and white, Max Holloway's colored. Like, he is such an odd one out in this interview. Like, he's not acting like himself in any way whatsoever. Ilia Topuria is being nice, but he's still got shades of Ilia Topuria in there. Max Holloway's just being a grumpy old man. This is my division. Like, kind of energy that he's giving off right now. God. My throat is dry as fuck. Anyway, Ilia Topuria after this, I'm not going to show this part, but he just says, I send Volkanovski the old person home, I'm going to send you into retirement next. Amazing line. Not sure if he I mean, you don't have to pre-write that. It's not that witty. It's not that witty. Something that anyone could really come up with. Anyway, let's go to 16 minutes and 27 seconds. This is weird. Like, this is like, I think Max was being childish before with the stuff he was saying earlier, like being kind of childish, like playground, kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, calm down, that kind of way. He does the worst thing you can do in these kind of interviews, in my opinion, to make yourself look cool or likable.
Say the same. All the time, say the same. I don't need to say anything.
What? Speak, bro.
Speak, bro. All he said was, all this time you stay the same. Like, literally, he stumbled one word 2 times. Max Holloway does the... You know what? That noise that, like, fighters make against each other when it's, like... They're clearly losing the argument, but they just want to, like... They want to make a funny moment happen. Can't think of anything. Start making noises. Something that's... Not even 16. Something 12-year-olds do. You know what I mean? You're 12 years old. Your friend's roasting the shit out of you. He got the whole class laughing at you. You reply with that. Just childish stuff. And I've never seen Max Holloway be like this. He's usually pretty... He doesn't care. I swear he usually doesn't care. And Ilia Topuria, of all people, is being like the classy one in the interview. Holding the fort down. Representing himself quite well, actually. Not that I really care about this stuff, but I do want Ilia Topuria to win. I think he'd be a superstar. I want him to win. And I love Max Holloway. So it's not... It's just weird seeing Max like this, you know what I mean? Imagine if his entire career was being this dude. No one would like him as much as they do now. Anyway. Oh, and then Ilia Topuria. Incredible roast right back at Max.
Come on, bro. I'm speaking in your language. Let's talk in Spanish. Let's talk in Georgian. Let's talk in Russian. Let's talk in Germany. What the f*** you talking about, man?
So yeah, Ilia Topuria, amazing response. English is like his 3rd or 4th language, let's be honest. He's like, we can speak in Russian, we can speak in Spanish, we can speak in Georgian, we can speak in another language that I think he might have mentioned, or maybe not, I'm just making it up in my mind. But yeah, it's true. This is like his 2nd or, not even 2nd, like 3rd or 4th language at this stage, because he's Georgian and he lives in Spain. You know what I mean? He can also speak Russian apparently, which is quite interesting to hear. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense actually. I mean, if you live in Georgia, you probably pick up a bit of Russian. Anyway, what was I going to say? Yes, Ilia Topuria, amazing response. Shows himself to be quite articulate and smart, unlike I'm only going after Colby Covington. Even though I like Colby Covington, I think he adds a lot to fight nights and... Not fight nights, pay-per-views and like... He's just, you know, like, the more Colby Covington doesn't fight, the more I think less of him in terms of his personality and all that stuff. Because I'm like, dude, you're all talk. You're talking about you want to be this, and this, and you never deliver any of this. Like, Colby Covington is like, every fight he's like, I'll finish this guy, I'll finish this guy, I'll finish him. And then he never gets a finish. And then one time he finished Tyron Woodley because of a rib injury. He was like, I told you he'd melt. And like, it's like, dude, shut up. I'm glad Ilia Topuria hasn't gone down the delusional route here. He's, for the most part in the entire interview, has kept like a straight face, given answers that he actually like thinks and believes himself. Max, not so much. Kind of got out of his way to be a bit of a C word, you know what I mean? And he makes a really articulate point, like this is not even his first language, and considering that, he's speaking quite articulately. Like perfect, almost perfect, like he just slows down, stumbles on a word here or there. He's doing this off the top of his noggin, like, it's not pre-written. Like, Colby Covington's first language is English, and he stumbles over his words way more than Ilia Topuria has, I feel like. Anywho. Anyway, Max says you don't have any IQ as a boxer, and then... I'm not going to play that, because it's just not that big of a moment, but... you're lying, Max, come on. Ilia Topuria has some of the best hands in the division, the power that he has is insane. You can't be saying that. And then Max Holloway ends in a really, really weird note. This is the last thing I'm going to show you guys. The interview's nearly over anyway.
Once I'm going to put these balls where it need to be.
Why are you touching yourself, brother? We're on live TV right now. Calm down.
And that's the last thing I want to show you guys. Ilia Topuria just said, I'm going to put these balls where they need to be. I think that's probably on Max's face is what he meant. Gonna drop his balls on Max's face. Leave him hanging. Max Holloway, oh dude, why are you touching yourself? We're on live TV. Like, he's trying so hard to play the higher moral guy here. Like, trying to be like, Ilia Topuria is stupid. He doesn't make any sense. Like, they're talking over him. They're telling him to calm down. All that stuff culminates with him saying, dude, stop touching yourself. We're on live TV. I think Max Holloway came out of this looking quite childish, to be honest. I think Ilia Topuria left this looking like the cool heel. Like the cool heel. Like The Rock from the 2000s. Real ones know. You know what I mean? Max Holloway just... It's probably... I mean, move up to lightweight. I think the featherweight cut is too much on Max's body at this stage. He's a long dude. It's probably hard for him. And he looks good in lightweight. He just beat Justin Gaethje. If he wins one more fight at the lightweight division, he probably could get a title shot there. But yeah, that was the interview. And I'm... Weird interview. Didn't expect this energy from Max Holloway. Weird, but also one of the best interviews the UFC's ever done. Not ever. In a while. It's been the best one in a while. Like, they've actually promoted this interview. And just haven't left it till the last minute of the press conference. Like, if you see it, you buy it. If you don't, then that is what it is. I'm glad they've done this. I love it. Like, share, and subscribe. Don't share, because that's weird. No one shares. Unless you're sharing to someone that's going to subscribe. Then share. I'll see you next time. Ilia Topuria, round 4 knockout.